I better start recording. There we go. Um, so basically we'll be recording the webinar. We'll be posting it in the academic business area of the school community website later this week. So if you want to see it again, or you missed something and want to go back and check it, you certainly can do that. You'll look for it on the academic business area of our student community. Before we get started, I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with how the webinar works, but up in the right-hand corner, you're going to have the console or control panel. Basically, it should be up in the right-hand corner of your screen, and you can minimize that by clicking on the arrow in the upper left corner of the control panel. If you're not familiar with that, feel free to try it. If you click on the arrow, once you've minimized it, it will expand it again for you. So just take a moment to practice that if you're not familiar with it. And then second, you have the ability to submit questions here. There is a question box that you can put any questions or comments during the webinar. You'll find that this is a pretty interactive webinar. We'll be stopping at various points throughout the webinar to take a look at the questions that you have and the comments that you have. Debbie's webinars, if you've been to them before, you'll find that they're pretty interactive. So what I'd like to do is just to make sure that you can all hear me okay. Why don't you take a moment in the question box and just type in your name and where you're from, and just make sure that I can, or you can hear me, and that I'm not talking to dead air here. So go ahead and try posting to the question box, and I see a few there. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, so we have people from Texas, Florida, Toronto, Virginia, Georgia, New Mexico, Michigan. Okay, Miami, Georgia. All right. I guess that's the Cayman Islands, Pennsylvania, British Virgin Islands. Okay, so that looks like we have a pretty well-rounded group here. So you're from all over the place. That's great. We'll get a little more interaction that way sometimes. So anyway, we're going to allow 1 hour for this webinar. We usually try to keep it to that. If we go over a little bit, that's okay. But we'll try to keep it to an hour. So to get started here, I'd just like to introduce our presenter, Devi Vallabhanani. She's earned her MBA from Harvard Business School and received her undergraduate degree from the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. Devi currently serves on the admissions board for Harvard Business School for outreach and evaluation of candidates worldwide. Among other things, she's the author of the Introduction to Business course for Penn Foster. Feel free to ask questions and respond to her questions throughout the webinar. We have a fairly large number of students here from, as I said, various points throughout the world here, and I'll be monitoring those questions and comments and feeding those to Devi at certain points. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Devi, and take it away there.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Russell, and thank you for everyone joining today. So given the widespread geographic diversity of everyone, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. So thank you very much for taking a moment out of your day to be together. So we picked the beauty industry as the topic because I think it's a part of our daily routine that we don't even think about. It's kind of just what we do every day, whether it's in the morning, in the evening, putting makeup, taking care of your skin, all that, and it's a gigantic industry. So I wanted to take a little bit closer look at that and understand, what are some of the business implications that would help all of us, and especially for those of you in the intro to business, I think we'll be able to learn a lot from the beauty industry that hopefully you'll, take away some good learnings today. So what we're going to do is first talk about the beauty industry in general, and then we're going to spend a few moments on Ulta Beauty. It's a retailer that only sells beauty products, and then talk about kind of, how else to think about the beauty industry. So before we jump in, how many people have heard of Ulta? So it is a pretty wide, it's available in 48 out of the 50 states. So our friends today that are from Toronto and or the Cayman Islands, maybe you don't have Ulta, but obviously if you have Sephora, wherever you buy your beauty products, whether it's at a department store, drugstore, doesn't really matter. Everyone can participate, so don't think of that as a reason not to participate. It's more of we're just going to spend a moment on Ulta and learning about the beauty industry, from a retailer in particular. So with that said, why don't we move to the next slide then.
Okay.
So the beauty industry is $134 billion in sale each year. So as I said, when I said gigantic, I really meant that it's gigantic. And to think of that in perspective, it's about 60% products and 40% services. So I wanted to spend a moment on just kind of what are we talking about when we mean the beauty industry. So when we say products, it could be makeup, it could be skincare, it could be products for your hair, shampoo, that kind of stuff, combs, you name it. So products related to makeup and cosmetics, skincare, and then hair care. And services, it's anything salon related. So again, most of the salon services are hair related, skin related, and nail services. So you can see then in terms of the split of cosmetics over services, and with as many kind of salons, I mean, salons are such a vital component of our small business infrastructure, and so to think that and the thing that really kind of jumped out at me is services. Okay, people need to get haircuts. A lot of women and men choose nail services, and so for as many services as there are needed just for maintenance, I thought services was going to be bigger. I was surprised to see products to be bigger. So that jumped out at me because I figured services, people need that. Products, okay, there's so many choices. We don't need all of them, and so I thought products would be smaller. So that was a little bit of a surprise for me. But I think as we go through this, I think we'll be able to see why products probably are higher. So with that said, why don't we take a moment here and tell, if we can, I know it's going to come later, but start to think about, where you buy your, beauty products. What services would you be, engaging in? And again, this is just kind of general discussion. I'm going to plant the seed now, and we'll have time in a couple slides to take your questions. But I wanted to just kind of throw it out there to start thinking about your consumer behavior as a consumer in this beauty industry. Like I said, these are things that we probably use every day. And so let's understand the business side of it, using our own consumer behavior to be able to learn from. So I want to use this as the backdrop for the beauty industry. Then let's move to the next slide, Russell, so we can talk about then Ulta Beauty.
Okay.
So Ulta, yep, Ulta is then, it is a retailer. It was founded in 1990, and so it's been around for, a couple decades now, and it is a standalone beauty retailer. All they sell are beauty products and services. And so it makes sense that their tagline is all things beauty, all in one place. It's pretty self-explanatory in terms of their tagline, but I think in 1990 it was pretty innovative at that time because most people bought their beauty products, could be from Target, from Walmart, from Macy's, from Neiman Marcus, at all different price points. And so at that point it was innovative to have one store to go to for beauty products. And also remember, 1990 was before Amazon and e-commerce and everything. So it was very innovative at that time to have such a very focused retailer, right? Like, so Ulta would be considered focused, whereas like a Target or Walmart would be considered kind of broad in terms of the products that they offer. One of the things that struck me while doing the research for Ulta is the current CEO. Her name is Mary Dillon, and she's been, I think, at Ulta for a couple of years now, probably 2 to 3 years maximum. But if you look at her experience, she was a marketing executive at McDonald's and then moved on to be the CEO of US Cellular and is also on the board of Starbucks. So clearly she has a retail background. And I think that's why she, Ulta has been so successful because of the diversity of retail. So, we think of McDonald's as pretty focused, right? They only sell one thing, food. US Cellular, very focused. Starbucks, extremely focused, right? So I think that's the kind of focus that then she's bringing to Ulta. I think it would have been different in terms of if they brought somebody in, like I said, from a Target or a Macy's or a Walmart into Ulta. Who knows if that would have been the right formula for the CEO, but kind of in hindsight, it made sense that somebody who worked at very focused retailers would be then the CEO of Ulta. I think a lot of people think, oh, well, she came from food or she came from technology. And you can think of it as the category of topics like food and technology versus beauty products, but I view it as more a focused versus kind of a broader type of retailer, like mass market retailer, mass merchandising retailer. And so I think that's part of her success. And so for Ulta, their sales last year was, let's say, close to $5 billion. So $5 billion out of $134 billion that we saw in the previous slide. So, they're not the biggest place where people are going, but I think in terms of, as we see, it's definitely a fast growing way to buy beauty products is like that focused retailer. And so it was close to 1,000 stores across the country in 48 states. And this was kind of astounding to me, is they sell 20,000 different products at within their stores and online. So now I see why, on the previous slide when we saw that 60% of the $134 billion was from products, well, that's why. Like, there's so many more choices that consumers have for products than I ever expected. So that was a little bit of a surprise in terms of products, but again, it makes sense because everybody has different tastes. Everyone has different price points, and we have to, think about skin tone, priorities. So I think it makes sense, the 20,000, but again, until you see the number, if someone, were to ask me kind of a trivia question of how many, beauty products are there, maybe I would have said 5,000, and I thought that would have been high. I definitely didn't expect it to be 20,000 different types of products. And so that was, like I said, something that stood out. So we're going to move to the next slide, and then we're going to pause for a second, and now comes your experience and your analysis. And so we're going to take a moment, and, like I said, that's why I wanted to plant the seed a couple slides ago in terms of, what beauty products, have you bought, where have you bought them? And again, this is not so much of you need to give away, your favorite beauty brands or anything like that, but it's more of, as a consumer, it's more of, where do you buy them on Amazon? Do you buy them at the drugstore, grocery store? Do you go into Sephora and or Ulta? Do you buy them because a friend showed you? These days there's so many different ways to buy it. So it's more of, I would like to hear about your experiences as a beauty consumer. And then we'll move in terms of like some more general things of then, you know, that what may make Ulta Beauty special. So then we'll turn the conversation into, if anyone has bought anything from Ulta, please share that with us as well.
Okay, we have a shy group today. Oh, there we go. Okay. Just when I said that, it
Yeah,
exploded.
of course. Then it's going to explode of everybody kind of participating. Maybe it's taking everyone to kind of formulate their thoughts for a second.
So, yeah. So we have Marita, beauty products. I purchase her cosmetics, nail products, hair, skin products. Most of these items are bought in department store like Ulta. Then we have Robin. I bought products from Amazon mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. We have um, Teresa Kiko Milana from their website. I like it because it fits my skin type and tone, makeup. Heina, I buy some things, but I buy most things at Walmart or Target.
Mm-hmm.
It fits my budget for a mother of three girls. Oh God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, they'll keep the beauty industry in business, right? Um,
That's right. Makes a
the,
lot of sense. I would do the same thing.
looks like another one, Teresa with Walmart. We have Rhonda,
Mm-hmm.
beauty
Mm-hmm.
supply store.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Mary Kay products. There's another
Mm-hmm.
popular one.
Yep.
Avon.
Yep.
Um, department stores. Oh, we have someone who's a licensed cosmetologist.
Oh, great.
That's Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly bought hair and, or I mean, sorry, Samantha. Mostly bought hair and cosmetic products, and what I get is from department stores that
Mm-hmm.
fit my budget.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, here's someone who uses Amway beauty products.
Mm-hmm.
That's from Gregory.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it looks like we have a wide range here.
Yeah. So now we know why it's the $134 billion in sales. I mean, we are our discussion today is that microcosm, right? In terms of all of your experiences and everything you've been buying lead to that $134 billion per year. So that is we're proof of that. And so it's really I'm really happy to see kind of the diversity of, you know, you hear the Walmarts of the world, you see the Ultas, you see Amazons, you see Avon and Mary Kay and Amway. There's no, I think it's, people have figured out that it's one of those things of beauty product. People are going to buy them. And it's more of now what's the most convenient way or how do people like to buy. I think that becomes more important because everybody is buying something, right? We buy shampoo, we buy you know, maybe moisturizer. Those are pretty universal products that somebody's buying in a household. And so then it's a matter of, okay, well, these are staples. Then where are they buying? So as a business, you know, when you're in that type of, you know, industry where it's something that everybody needs, right, we can argue that beauty products are both probably a want and a need, right? Certain elements are certain products are, we must have, like, you know, shampoo or something like that, versus, you know, a lipstick. Do we need a lipstick? No. Is it nice to have one? Yeah, okay. Or a moisturizer or something like that. And again, I'm being very general in how I'm speaking, but we can start to see then in terms of, you know, what we consider needs and then what we consider wants. And so so given that, that was a great way to start our discussion. So keep them coming in terms of as we pause. We're going to pause periodically for people to kind of submit their experiences and share with us about that. So with that said, why don't we move to then the next slide. And so as we kind of stated, you know, the biggest, you know, I think part of the what do you call it, the of the 134 billion. So in the previous slide, we talked about 134 billion and then moved it from products and services, and that was just in the US. So I wanted to kind of delve just in skincare. And so, here's another way to think about it. So just skincare alone worldwide is about the same as, all of beauty in the US. So if we think about it, skincare, while it's globally 121 billion last year, if we think about it, just skincare alone makes up 35% of the entire beauty market. And so that's why it is such a big deal. And I think, as someone said, because of skin tone, skin type, skin color, there's so many different types of products out there. And I think this is what contributes to that 20,000 products in the market. And so, if it's 35% skincare, then hair products are about 24%. And so, and then with the remaining, in makeup being 40%. So you can start to see then, kind of the breakout of what we consider, beauty. So it's skincare 35%, hair is 24%, and then makeup is 40%. So so in total, beauty or cosmetics and skincare comprise kind of the largest portions of the product category. I couldn't find a slide or kind of statistics of the breakdown of the US, but I would imagine these breakdowns are probably the same globally versus the US versus kind of any country. So, but here we kind of go deeper in terms of how that breakout is. And also in terms of, as somebody said, I think they said they're buying on Amazon. The biggest growth right now in terms of where people are buying beauty products is really online. And so obviously Amazon kind of, you can go one place to buy many brands, but now most brands are, you can buy them online. So for example, if you use a certain product and you've been using it for years, well, maybe it's something to think about. Again, I'm not advocating one way or another way to buy, but it may be more convenient for you, especially if buying online may be hard, I think, maybe for cosmetics if you haven't tried it per se before, or a shampoo or any kind of beauty product, because it's not like a shirt where you can say, okay, that fits, type of thing. This, what if the shade doesn't look good? What if it reacts with your skin? I view beauty and skincare, these products are more personal. There's probably less room for mistakes versus like a shirt. Okay, it fits, it's good enough. Okay, it might be an inch too big. It's okay. There's a little bit more leeway, I think, for clothes if you buy them online. But my personal opinion is beauty, if your skin reacts, and you don't know that until you try it, right? Like, so that's what I'm saying, you have to get it right. These are hard to experiment, so I think that's why people end up buying in person, or people may check them out in person at the mall and then go buy online if it's more convenient. Prices are probably going to be the same wherever you go, but there is a strong growth factor in beauty moving online. So I think the biggest threat to Ulta is probably not the Macy's of the world or even Mary Kay. It's probably Amazon and other e-commerce websites where people are buying. But I think as we talk about the growth of Ulta, we're going to get to that in a few slides. I think there's still something about the trial of beauty products. You want to try it before you buy it. So I think Ulta will always be strong. It's just a matter of, but once you buy it once, right, and it works for you, well, maybe the second purchase you're going to buy online versus the first one. So I think it'll always be that push-pull and healthy competition between buying online and then, trying new products in person. For somebody, let's take a pause here for a second. For those of you who, who bought online, what is it about it that you buy online? Is it products that you've bought before? Are you willing to try new products online? And those who haven't, is this something that you would consider? Or, do you like the experimentation of buying in person? So why don't we pause here for a second before we move on? I would love to hear from all of you of what your consumer behavior is of buying kind of in person versus online.
Okay. Give everybody a moment to respond.
Yeah, this is. I think it's one of those things of it, all the kind of beauty companies are scrambling to figure out, well, what should we be selling online? How do we let people experiment, or at least, say, oh, this product is going to be working. So I think why you see a lot of reviews on beauty products, probably more so than other types of products, because you want that reassurance before you buy something. You'd like a book, or if you buy something on Amazon, that like an electronic, you kind of know what you're getting. And this, this is so sensory, right? You got to touch it, you got to feel it, you got to put it on. It's way more experiential than probably other types of products, and it's very personal, right? We put it on ourselves, and so I think that's why it's probably different type of consumer behavior versus like electronics or a book or something like that.
Okay, yeah, we have a few responses here. We have one person, Teresa, I think it is, who buys from Kiko, and it's an Italian brand, and they're only online in this country. We have, let me see, Ramona. She mostly buys eyeshadows. Some products like foundations, if you use before, it's easy to purchase
Yep.
online, but not all the time. Let's see, what else here? Let's see, we have Robin. She buys both new and old items. Buying online, it's just more convenient.
Wow,
Um,
that's really cool.
oh, here's a good
And you
one.
probably have a good idea of what you like. Yeah.
Yeah, here's something that probably turns some people off. I know it does me, but um, as far as a salesperson is concerned, but she mentions that the personal experience and is sometimes they're pushy on the products.
That's true. That's very true.
Let's see. Okay,
Well,
there's
good.
some that like the
Yeah.
personal interactive approach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's also some more here. Let me see. Here's somebody, Janice. She does some research on the product before buying it for the first time online.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube and blogs,
Yep.
I guess, are
Yep.
used for that.
Yep.
And
I love the variety. This is exactly why, so many companies are trying to, offer so many different ways for the consumer. For every answer, there is a team of executives sitting somewhere thinking, okay, how do we convince a buyer to buy from this store, this website, this all that. So you're absolutely right. This is exactly what's probably going on in so many different beauty companies right now.
yeah, we have quite a few of both online
Mm-hmm.
and in person. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say, judging from the responses, and it's not scientific or anything,
No,
folks, but
right.
yeah, it looks like we're about 50-50 here. We like the in person and
Mm-hmm.
online.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. So then why don't we switch then kind of to another factor in terms of probably what's driving so many different the growth of the beauty industry. So back in 2001, there was a recession, then 9/11. So there was, 2001 was a very turbulent time. But this is it's called the lipstick index. And Leonard Lauder, who is the son of Estee Lauder, so Estee Lauder is a beauty company that has been around for many decades. And so Leonard Lauder was the chairman back in 2001. And he came up with this thing called the lipstick index. And what he meant was that in an uncertain environment, women turn to beauty products as an affordable indulgence while they cut back on more expensive items, right? A lipstick, and that's why they call it the lipstick index of beauty products, rise in the sales of beauty products rise in uncertain times because it's something that we can enjoy. People want to feel good. These are, compared to a new dress or a new pair of shoes or going on a vacation. This is a daily luxury that people can afford, and you have to get dressed in the morning, and people kind of people have a morning beauty routine and often an evening beauty routine, right? Like men shave, we all get ready in the morning. So on a daily basis, how do we show ourselves to the world? And by investing in beauty products, it's a way to counteract kind of an uncertain environment. How scientific this is, I'm sure there are researchers and PhDs and all of that who research this and run so many different analyses. But I do think this is one driving factor of the growth in beauty in the beauty industry and the growth of all these different ways to buy beauty products, and probably, this is what contributes to that 20,000 beauty products that are currently sold. And so it's something that really drives behavior, consumer behavior and consumer purchases, and probably in a way that we're not even aware of. So it's something to keep in the back of your mind of next time you get ready, or next time you're thinking about beauty products. So it's one of those things of we probably pay zero to very little attention to. But again, we're going to talk about this in a couple more slides too, that's why I'm fascinated with the beauty industry, because it's something that we all use in some form or another, but we probably don't even realize how we're using it or what motivates us. So here's one thing to keep in mind, and then let's move to then the next slide, which is also creating growth in the beauty industry. So the rise of selfies, not just from millennials but all ages, is driving the growth of Ulta in particular, but also the entire beauty category, because people feel like they have to be camera ready. Because of selfies, because in the workplace, you might have people use FaceTime, people use Skype, people use so many different ways to communicate. And the selfie generation, I think in this case the selfie generation is not just by age, but the fact that people take pictures all the time of others and of themselves, and so therefore there's kind of an implied pressure. And again, when I say implied, we probably don't even realize that have to, like, oh my God, let me put this on my face, let me put that on my face. We may not even be conscious of it, but we're doing it. But that is a driver for Ulta's growth, as well as then kind of the overall beauty business. So again, these are things that we may not even be aware of, but these are changes in kind of in our environment over let's say the last 5-10 years, between the rise of smartphones, the rise of cameras, selfies, probably post-financial crisis over the last 10 years. So, a lot has changed in the world over these last 10 years, and the beauty industry has really benefited from that in ways that, again, we're probably not even aware of. So why don't we pause here for a second, and would love to hear from you what your thoughts and opinions are. Maybe not necessarily your behavior, but what do you think about these two trends of the lipstick index, as well as then kind of the impact of the selfie generation on makeup and skincare and beauty products? We would love to hear kind of your opinions on this.
Okay, we'll give everybody a minute.
Yep. Yeah, it was really kind of eye-opening to see in terms of these factors, how technology, right, is affecting. So that's one industry, but it has so many implications in other industries.
Okay. All right. I think you surprised everybody with the selfie generation, but
Yeah, I mean, but it's a lot of people have documented. I just kind of, I put this in big letters because it's like it's been the headline in many different articles. So I thought, well, I can talk about the article, but let's put the headline because to me the headline says everything. Of it's a selfie generation that is, wants to be kind of camera ready.
Right. I hadn't, and I think I probably am speaking for a lot of this people on the webinar. I hadn't connected the two together. I wouldn't have thought of that. I guess maybe it's just because I'm a guy, but here's Robin.
Mhm.
She says, I think selfies are a bit damaging when they're overdone. I guess it seems to have some people obsessed.
Mhm. No, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. It can be unhealthy and it can be fun, right? Like if we do it with our friends or family, like every so often at like a family event, that's one thing. And then some people, literally do selfies like, 3 or 4 times a day. And I would imagine that those are probably the people who are driving the link to the growth of beauty products. Because also remember, for every selfie they want to look different. So maybe they put a different lipstick, maybe it's a different hairstyle, maybe it's this and that. So to show novelty and it's probably those people who are, there's probably, let me put it to you this way, there's probably a correlation to the number of selfies that as one takes to the amount of beauty products they buy. And again, I'm making a very general correlation here, but my point is in terms of there is strong research of the link between trying to feel that they have to be camera ready, putting their best foot forward, and then showing variety of their pictures too.
Yeah, here's a couple more. Using the right makeup helps improve selfies.
Mm-hmm.
And we have another one along with makeup apps generating the want to go buy new makeup. Uh, and yeah, something from Rhonda here, which is a good one. Grooming is part of our daily life.
That's right.
So.
Yep, that's exactly right. So I think in terms of these are, like I said, these are some big trends that are kind of, may affect us, not all of us, but in a way that I never expected. I've taken like I think 2 or 3 selfies in my entire life. So when I read this, I was like, really? I had to read it twice just to understand. I'm like, oh, okay. But at the same time, it's totally logical. It makes a lot of sense. I'm probably the outlier, but at the same time, who doesn't, if you know you're going to be in front of the camera, whether it's your own or others, it's natural that you want to look your best. And so I think that's what's driving it. It's, for some people, it's fun. It's a way for a lot of people to express themselves, and that I completely understand. And all these beauty companies are capitalizing on it, so it works both ways. And so then why don't we then talk a little bit more of the kind of the financial side of Ulta and why Ulta is kind of a standout in the retail world. So I chose this slide because in the last 5 years, look at the growth of Ulta. So so Ulta is the dark line, the dark thick line, that's kind of, that has that upward motion. And then the other two are kind of, one is the kind of an overall stock index, and then the other one that is just the dotted line, not the dashes. The dashes is the overall stock one, and then the retail one, like we talked about Macy's and department stores and Target, that's the kind of the average is then kind of the dotted line, the one right below Ulta. So you've probably seen the headlines, especially in the last 6 months, that a lot of retailers are closing or that they're struggling. And look at Ulta is just kind of overall ticking, and it really started ticking in since 2014, and that's about the time that Mary Dillon became CEO. So that's why wanted to throw that in kind of up front. And she brings all this retail experience, and look at the difference now in terms of where Ulta is versus all the other retailers, and then kind of the overall stock market in comparison. So the beauty trend is here to stay. Whether, regardless of how much we participate in it on an individual level, but people spending on beauty and wanting to either put their best foot forward for themselves, for selfies, because it makes them feel good. It's regardless of the emotional benefit, beauty spend per consumer is here to stay. Because look at the growth. Overall, retail is declining or not growing as fast, but then is this retail darling. Something is working here. So there's something going on in beauty that is affecting the vast majority of consumers. And so I thought this was a really good way to show Ulta, but more importantly, Ulta is probably taking money away from other retailers, and it goes back to that lipstick index of people spending on beauty. They're going to use that same shirt, use that same dress, same pair of shoes, but yet they want the latest advances in skincare or hair care or cosmetics, and they probably feel it's much more affordable than going on a big vacation. This is their way of enjoying themselves, and so it really starts to make you think back at like your own behavior and say, wow, there's something here. Maybe I'm part of the trend. Maybe I'm not part of the trend. But it's another way to just kind of look at yourself and say, why do I spend on beauty? Where can I, why am I not buying something else? And so it's more of a, reflect on kind of your consumer behavior. It's neither good nor bad to spend a lot on beauty or a less on beauty. It's more of, the purpose of today is saying these are some of the bigger trends going on in globally, and then to be able to understand next time, like now after this research, I feel like I see beauty ads everywhere, and so I'm like, oh, no wonder, right? It's $134 billion. This is how it's showing up in kind of my day-to-day life. And so with that said, let's move on to the next slide, and then we can pause for a second there. So in terms of one of the things that we haven't talked about, although someone has touched upon it, in terms of we have covered how do you shop for beauty products and services, but in terms of has social media changed your beauty habits? And somebody said they watch YouTube for videos. So are you looking at what celebrities are doing? Or are you influenced by bloggers? Are you influenced by how celebrities are, their skincare, their beauty ritual? Is that of importance, or would that drive your kind of beauty behavior? Because again, bloggers and influencers, that's something that has really risen in the last 5 years. And so it's one of those things that we may not even realize that we're influenced by that. And I think that's how these beauty companies really know how to market. It's one thing to put an ad for a shampoo. It's another thing to, have your favorite celebrity be in a shampoo commercial. So it's one of those things of just, for as many variety of consumers we are on this call, there are probably, equally number of marketing strategies to reach us individually. And so we may not even be aware of how we're being targeted. There's a lot of science behind beauty marketing and just beauty R&D and development and beauty product development. So it's I have a feeling you're going to start to see things differently. And so yeah, if anyone has some few last thoughts of kind of how social media has changed their beauty habits or not, would love to kind of hear that as well. To me, one of the biggest changes, and while we wait for answers or kind of comments, is the rise of the beauty blogger. Some of these bloggers make 6 figures. And some of the really successful bloggers who have millions of followers, they're creating their own beauty lines with major beauty companies. And so when you see those types of numbers, that they are getting $1 million deals or to develop their own makeup line because they've done videos for consumers and this and that, and consumers view them as loyal and view them as trustworthy, that they're now willing to buy that person's makeup line. That's when you see the power of social media. You see the power of marketing. You see the power of new products, and it goes back to that's why there are 20,000 products. This is an industry that I think is just going to keep exploding. We haven't even, I don't think we're reached the peak yet. So that's why I find this very fascinating. And I think, like I said, it would be interesting to see kind of how your viewpoint changes over the next few weeks, few months, kind of after having this webinar today. So, Russell, have there been any comments that have come in?
Oh, I'm sorry. I had
okay.
myself on mute here. I was
Oh, no
talking
problem.
and nothing was happening.
No problem. Happens all the time with webinars.
Yeah, we have one indicating that dyeing your hair is their splurge. Natural products really catch your eye, and Facebook is good at marketing. It's important to be clean and look nice, so it makes total sense. Online where it's at the prices that you find are better than in-store buying, unless you have time to clip a ton of coupons.
Yeah, that's true.
So we have another one here. They see celebrities that like or that I like or similar in age promoting a product. I would absolutely want to try it. Another interest is would it be if I have a particular issue, skincare, for example, I would try it. Let's see, we have another one here. They watch videos on YouTube for new makeup techniques. And we have, here's another one. I think social media has changed the way the world views beauty habits. Be it business or other jobs, people are more likely to take you seriously if you take your own appearance seriously. So that's a.
And in fact, if we can pause here for a second,
Sure.
Whoever said that hit on something that I was going to include on here. But then in terms of there are so many other things to talk about, there's a lot of research called the beauty premium. And so if you Google that, you will see there is research that people who take care of themselves, people who, it's not even about attractive or unattractive, it's more of who look professional, who, show up to work kind of put together, that they earn more over time. And obviously they've researched this for over thousands of people and have conducted actual studies, but there is a beauty premium in careers. And so it's something that you may want to think about as you think about your career post Penn Foster and everything like that. But there is indeed economists, I should say, have studied the beauty premium, and it is a real phenomenon that these economists calculate. So so that I think it goes back to the lipstick index, it goes back to selfies, it goes back to kind of the, now that so many companies have conference calls, or not conference calls, video conferencing, FaceTime. I know a company that does job interviews via FaceTime if you can't come in. So yeah, you got to look good, right? Like in terms of it's not just kind of a phone interview anymore. And so if you have a phone, it might be Skype, it might be FaceTime. And so all of this has an impact then on our own careers as well as the beauty industry as a whole. Oh, sorry. So I know I interrupted you there, Russell. Were there any more?
Yeah, there's a couple more.
Okay.
Basically, here's another one because of the lucratives in products. It's difficult to stick to one product. Therefore, I see it as money driven. Let's see. Another one, I've gotten products at lower prices online, and someone else who follow celebrity influence
Mm-hmm.
on what they choose.
Gotcha. So I think in terms of, so that's really helpful, and I think it kind of rounds out our discussion today. So as we wrap up, why don't we move to the next slide then, and just to kind of talk about some of the concepts we discussed, and then you can kind of see how it dovetails into some of the topics in the Intro to Business course. So we talked about niche versus mainstream, Ulta being very niche, and companies like Amazon, Target, and everything being mainstream. Vision and competition. I think Ulta was very visionary back in 1990 to say, we're going to be a retailer focused on beauty products. Competition, well, we talked about that to death in terms of all the different varieties that the beauty companies come in and all the channels that you can buy this. We talked about retail and e-commerce. Industry factors, and what I meant by here is all the drivers that are driving this industry, whether it's selfies, whether it's the economy, whether it's just a heightened awareness, all that, and then competitive advantage and consumer behavior. I definitely wanted to speak more about consumer behavior today because, like I said, everybody has different habits. This is such a personal product that there's definitely no one-size-fits-all of how to buy what we buy in the beauty space. And so with that said, I offer you kind of a way to reflect of, just, how you're buying it. Like I said, I do think this webinar compared to many others we've had before is different in that this is probably the most personal type of product that we've talked about. So I think the real value of the webinar today is when tomorrow if you pick up a magazine or you see an ad or you see your own beauty routine, I think you'll see it differently. I think you'll be more kind of observant of you as a consumer, maybe your friends as consumers and what drives them. So it'll be interesting to see how your thoughts change kind of over time, as mine have in terms of, it's one of those things of I had to definitely reflect on it, and I've been doing this research for this webinar for about a month now, and I definitely have seen kind of how I've changed over time, observing my friends, my family, and how they purchase beauty products or don't. Right? There's enough people who don't pay attention to this, so that's also just as important as those who do. So with that said, I wanted to kind of say thank you for your time today, and if you have any kind of last minute thoughts of kind of how your opinion has changed, this is, please share this. This is the time to kind of share your kind of final thoughts of if how your thoughts have changed in the last hour about the beauty industry and or things that you're going to pay great attention to going forward. But like I said, I know I've definitely, my outlook has definitely changed. Between the lipstick index, between the beauty premium that people have in careers, and the selfie generation.
Okay, well, we have a response from Robin. Thank you. It was an awesome webinar, very informative. I'm going to look for more deals where they make too much money. So let's see. Anyone else have any closing thoughts? So we have a question up there about what advice would you give the Ulta beauty executives? What do you think about that one?
Oh, for me, I say, I say they're probably going to be spending more time figuring out how to get people to buy more online in terms of new products versus existing. I think that's still a challenge. While they're growing, people still like to come in and try it on themselves. Like, they want to know if this works on their skin and everything. So it'll be interesting to see what tools they provide for customers to buy product that they haven't bought before online. I know I don't do that. I would rather try it in person. But at the same time, in terms of, I also don't take selfies, so I'm probably not their target market. But like I said, I bet they are working on tools to to, make it more comfortable for people to buy different types of beauty products online. And once they crack that, I think their sales are going to increase that much more, faster.
Okay. Yeah, we have a comment from Virginia. Thank you. It was interesting. I didn't realize how much my household really uses beauty products. And a thank you from Verdi. One of the things that really struck me about it was the correlation between using beauty products and job performance. That one's one that I didn't think about, how, someone using beauty products might have a leg up over someone who doesn't in the job world.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to people, again, I think this is the theory. And when I say this, I'm not advocating everyone going out and buying makeup. When I say that is, I think there is a correlation of people feeling confident and doing what it takes to feel confident, whether it's beauty, whether it's anything that would make them confident. Confidence is what projects into the workplace, which then translates into money. I think a lot of people view appearance as part of their confidence. And so I think that's where the beauty products come in. Using beauty products, but you still have, low confidence, I don't see that as something that's going to be solving your confidence. But if it adds to the confidence and it's, earnest and sincere, then I say, yeah, I can see the correlation.
Okay. Well, just a couple of more comments. Samantha indicating kind of surprised by just how big selfies and social media have on this industry.
Yeah, I was too.
And let's see. Gregory with a comment here, very informative, reminded me of a book I read, Household Gold, and I think that's supposed to be Consumer Power. Not familiar with the book. Well, I'll tell you what.
We'll have to look it up then.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts, Debbie?
Nope, I'm good. Make sure we stayed to our hour schedule, and I think we covered a lot today. So
Okay.
thank you so much.
Well, we're about to get hit with a thunderstorm here, so
okay. On that note,
I'm going to have to get off because I don't want to lose the connection in the middle. So
that's right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
and thank you, Russell.
You're welcome. I thank you for doing this. I know you spend a lot of energy on researching these webinars, so I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with our students. Just want to let everybody know that within 24 hours you'll receive an email from me with a link to complete a survey, and just let us know your thoughts. It's just like 2 quick questions that you answer. Just kind of tell us what you think, and that'll help us in determining what our future presentations are. Also, we'll be posting a recording to our community sometime later this week. So if you came in late and you want to see the whole webinar, you can do that. The recording probably should be up by Friday in the academic business section of the student community. And I think that's all. Thanks,
Sounds great.
Thanks to everyone who came. We appreciate the input, and we'll be doing another webinar at some point in the future. We'll probably take a little break in the summertime here, but you'll see more advertisements as we go through the year. So thanks, everybody, and have a great night.
Good night. Bye-bye.